Okay, let us look at the updated basic bodies block for adults, and this time we first see the items that are required for this project. We need the notebook, marker pens, pair of scissors, tracing wheel, pins, pen, and tape measure. Don't forget the ruler as well as the pattern paper. So fashion students and fashion designers outside there, these are the basic equipment that you must have for any project in pattern making. And here are the body measurements that are needed for our project. If you have a problem in taking body measurements, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll read and I make a video on how to take body measurements. So you will need neck measurements, shoulder to shoulder measurements, bust circumference, chest circumference, waist circumference, then the hip circumference. Don't forget the armhole lengths. Then also we need the body's lengths. Then lastly, the apex to apex measurement, that's nipple to nipple. So guys, for this project, I'll be going with the neck standard measurements of 3 inches, that's the width, and 3 inches, that the depth, that's 3 by 3. Then for the shoulder to shoulder measurements, I'll be using my client's measurements that I took previously, that is 16 inches. Then bust measurements are 42.5 inches. Then the chest circumference is 41.5 inches. Then the waist is 36 inches. Then the hip circumference is 47 inches. My basic body's length is 26 inches, and it is from the client that I took. Her apex to apex measurements is 8 inches, that's nipple to nipple. And also in this video, don't forget, I will be sharing with you some of the standard body measurements that you as a designer, fashion student must know, and they will help you in your career in the fashion industry. This is because when you are at your workshop, you will sometimes forget to take measurements of some body parts, but to save you time, I'll be sharing with you these standard body measurements in this video. So watch the video up to the end. So guys, I'm beginning my project by drawing a vertical straight line on one side of my pattern paper, which will work as my grain line. And also on top of my pattern paper, I'm drawing a horizontal line where my measurements will begin, and it will be my shoulder line. So ladies and gentlemen, let us first begin inserting vertical measurements. And now we are locating where the bust is. Standard measurements from the shoulder to the bust area is usually 9 to 10 inches depending on the height of your client. But for this project, I'm going with bust lengths from shoulder to the bust of 10 inches. Now we are done with the bust. Now we are inserting shoulder to waist measurements. For this client is 16 inches, but standard measurements for adult from shoulder to the waist is 14.75 to 17 inches depending on the height of your client. For the hip, my client shoulder to hip measurements is 26 inches, but for adults it ranges from 23 up to 27 inches depending on the height of your customer. So ladies and gentlemen, we are done with inserting our vertical measurements. Let me continue by renaming this line. That's the shoulder line, then this is my bust line, then this is my waist line, then lastly my hip line. But for the waist line, for the chest line, it will be determined by the calculation that I will be giving you in this video. So ladies and gentlemen, let us begin by inserting our horizontal measurements. Now we are beginning with the neck. That is 3 by 3 inches. That is 3 inches the width and 3 inches the depth. So I'm marking it on the shoulder line, this line on top, and now I'm squaring it up to get a straight line. Then the depth also is 3 inches. Then I square my line, then I join them together like this. I have to remind you that we are first of all dealing with our front part, and now we are creating a front neck curve. So you will draw a line like the way I'm doing, draw a broken line like that, how I'm doing, then measure the length of that line, then divide it by 3 inches, by 3, then the number that you get you put in the middle. So for this case I have 1.5 inches. That is where you will pass your curve line like the way I'm doing. See, pass there like this. Okay, students, remember this is just a basic bodice, but your neck depth and the width can be adjusted according to the design and the style that you are working on, or according to your client's preference. Now, still on our horizontal measurements, we are going to insert our shoulder to shoulder measurements. For my client is 16 inches, but usually standard measurements for adult, it ranges from 15 to 17 inches depending on how wide the shoulder of your client is. Remember, this line that I drew previously, it is my grain line, and I'm renaming it my center front, CF. I abbreviate it as CF. So we continue inserting our horizontal measurements, of which that's the shoulder measurement that was 16 inches. For my client, 16 divided by 2, 8. I'm marking it there. That's where my 8 is. Then I square up the line, straight line, to create the now we are creating the armhole line. That's the armhole line. I've already created it. Now you see, I simplified it by marking A, B, C, D, and E. From our shoulder line point E, I'm going to mark down to point F 0.75 inches. Then after, I join B to F to create my shoulder slope line, as I've done, you've seen. Now we are continuing now to insert the chest line. I told you the chest line, there are calculations that we always use. So you will get a shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2, that is 8. Then from F to G, that's where you place your shoulder to shoulder measurements by 2 to create point G. That G line will be our chest line. Then G to F, you divide it into 2 to create point H. Then from H, go in small size, you go in by 1 inch, large you go in by 0.75 inches, then extra large you go in by a ½ inch. But for this tutorial, I'm going in with 0.75 inches. Then after that, I'm going to insert my chest measurements, of which it is 41.5 inches. Remember to add 2 inches is allowance, divide it by 4, giving us a 10.875 inches. Those are the measurements of our chest. Now we go and insert in the chest line like the way I'm labeling first of all the chest line. Then after, I insert my 10.875, that's where they are. Then I draw a diagonal line from line G, point G, going outside 1.5. Then join F to the other point that we went in by, then to where our chest measurements are, and like that you smoothen it like that. So our front armhole curve is ready. So we have finished. Let us see what we have finished. We are done with the neck, the shoulder, the chest. Now we are going to work on the bust line. Our bust measurement is 42.5 inches plus 2 inches is allowance. Students, ease allowance is the breathing space between your dress and your exact body measurement. So 42.5 inches plus 2 inches is allowance divided by 4, giving us 11.125 inches. That is our bust measurements. So I'm inserting them, and like that, you've seen where our dot is. Now we are done with the bust line. Now we are going to work on our waistline. Waist measurement. Waist measurements for our client is 36 inches. Remember to divide it also by 4, giving us 9 plus 1 inch dart allowance. Our allowance, our dart allowance will be 1 inch. Remember, do not add allowance before calculation. That allowance you first divide your waist measurements, then you add that allowance later on. Let us proceed to our hip measurements, of which it is 47 inches plus 2 inches is allowance, divided by 4, giving us 12.25 inches, as we have seen. Then we go to our basic bodies. We insert our measurements in the hip line side. That is 12.25 in that point. Now what is remaining? You join this hip line, waist line, bust line up to the chest line, like the way I'm going to show you like this. See how I'm joining them to create to bring the shape of our bodies. Yeah, it is already coming out. Yes, please don't forget to share, like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Now I'm taking you back to our waistline and we insert our waist dart. Remember we had waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. That was our dart. So we are placing our dart in its position. That is, you divide your apex to apex measurement by 2. Then you square up a line like the way I've done like this. Then from your bust line, come down with 1 inch below like that. Then on your waistline you divide that center line into 2. That's 0.5 inches. Then from your hip line you go up by 1.5 inches. Then you draw a line like the way I'm doing, connecting these points together like this. Watch it, you also do it. You'll be able to come up with what I'm doing. For the side dart, you will measure the chest line to the waistline. You divide it by 2, giving you the results. Then you mark the midpoint of the chest line and the waistline. Then you draw a straight line connecting to the apex. Then from the apex, you create from the apex. Then from here, you mark a ½ inch outside, a ½ inch inside. Then from the apex you come in through that line with 1 inch. Then after you connect these points together like the way I'm doing. So see how I'm connecting them like that. So we are already done with our side dart and almost our front part is finished. Now the next step is working on the back part. But for the back part, you just need to trace the front part without the neckline, the armhole, because the neckline of the back and the front, they are not the same, as well as the armhole. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it, how it is. I'm tracing it out. See, I'm using my tracing wheel to trace it out. Then after tracing it, I'll show you the outcome. Actually, after tracing it, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to trim off my front pattern like the way I'm doing. Yeah, fashion designers, you must understand and master on how to create and draft the basic bodies, because once you master it, it has a lot of variety of things that you can develop it from, ranging from shirts, blouses, blazer jackets, coats, tops, and many other designs can be developed from these basic bodies. What you just need to do is you just make small adjustments according to the design, the client, or the one that you want to make in your project. And it is one of the easiest way of economizing your material, your fabric. Instead of you cutting direct on the fabric, you first cut on paper your basic bodies and you develop and make adjustment on it. Then after you transfer to the fabric. It is very easy. So I'm almost getting done with the trimming off. I've already trimmed off my my front part. See how it is. That is actually how it is. Now I'm trimming off the armhole. I'm also trimming off the neckline like the way I'm doing. You also do it do follow my videos and watch it repeatedly, not until you perfect it. And if you get a challenge, please just leave a comment on my comment section. I'll see it and then I give you the replies. Don't mind to reach us at on WhatsApp. Our numbers are on the screen. On Facebook we are there, and practically we can be contacted on ground. We are located in Mbale. We work 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, let us work on our backer part now. With the backer part, so guys, let us redraw the lines that we traced earlier on in our front part. That's the waistline, the chest line, then that's the bust line. Then also we traced out our dart, the waist dart, that's where it is. Then now inserting our dart. Now remember, this time the dart for the behind starts from the chest line. You come down by 0.5 inches, then you divide this dart line center into 1/2 inches by each side, then you join them together like the way I'm doing right now. So see how I'm joining them. That is the backer dart. It is a bit different from the front. For the front, it starts from the bust line below 1 inch below the bust line, but this one now it is 1/2 inch below the chest line. It's a bit unique, and that is it. So from the chest line, from the hip line, you go up by 1/2 inch, then you connect them like the way we did for the front. Just only adjustments is on the upper part of the dart. That means you extend it to the chest line. So this is how it is. Almost our backer part is ready. That's the hip line, the waist line, the bust. This is our bust line. That's our chest line. Then lastly, yeah, it's ready. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Our pattern is almost ready. Don't forget that symbol is for unfold. So that's our grain line. So that means our fabric, when you're cutting it on fabric, it must be unfold. That's our center back. So that's our backer part, and this is our front part. So guys, thank you so much for watching from the beginning up to the end. Keep practicing. You will also make it and you will be good to go. Chap. Yes, thank you so much all my followers on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp short videos, and my clients who reach us on ground in Mbale. Thank you so much. Mama Joy, Deputy CEO, Ugampoa Fashions, I greet you. How is there? Thank you so much for taking care of everything and handling clients. So that's what I had for you guys. Thank you. Bye. See you in my next